The fan favorite Chud is getting his video today. Robo Ky is very weird. He's very different from the rest of the roster in a ton of different ways. Also kind of like the Wily G of the Guilty Gear universe, where a ton of people ask for him, but I bet like 4 people are really going to play him. That's just the vibes Robo Ky's giving off to me. Despite his uniqueness, and I do think he's a really cool character and design. He's coming to Strive, and he's a very, very complicated character. So the question is, how will they adapt him in Strive? Robo Ky uses a completely different meter system, does not use tension whatsoever. He has a level up mechanic that buffs his specials depending on what level his meter is at, and he can also overclock himself, and he gets like, there's a heat mechanic where if he blocks too much or backdashes too much, he hurts himself. Strive has been known to make characters from previous games a lot more simpler to understand and easier to pick up. In doing so, Johnny's the best case of it. A character who was very complicated with coin setups completely changed to a set play guard crush character, completely different to how he was in his previous iteration. You have to be realistic about what's going to be in Strive, but we'll get into talking about things that should stay and some of the things that I don't think will stay. But let's get into talking about his meter system, the most complicated part. I think the meter system has to stay. It's very unique, it's very different. This is a Robo Ky exclusive thing. It has to stay. But I don't think they'll keep the mat. If they keep the mat, I'll be surprised, because as we know, they make a lot of these set play characters a little bit more simpler, or the resource characters a bit more easier to manage. So I can't imagine Robo Ky having to sit still on the mat the entire time. I can't see that happening. But what I can see happening is a possible charge mechanic, kind of like Order Saul from the exact same game where he charges up to get back his stuff. I think Robo Ky has a move that does the exact same thing, but I could be wrong. I also think the level mechanic should stay. Buffing the specials due to the level where the tension is at is very interesting and unique, and I think that would make him stand out, make people want to play him. However, I don't think it's going to work to the same extent as it works in Accident Core. I think at best there'll be like 2 different versions for every special move, compared to the level 3 versions that buff the special move to be Gungala crazy. I don't see that staying. If that stays, I'll be shocked. Now, the heat mechanic is very interesting. He gains heat basically through blocking or doing defensive actions, and the more he does it, the more he'll build up and he'll become red and very robot-y. And what this does is that it makes it so his offense, his damage, and his chip damage is way higher. He does chip damage normals now, he's super scary. However, this heat system hits 100%, Robo Ky will do self-damage. I think this might be scrapped altogether. I don't see it staying, but I could be wrong. But if it does stay, I think it'll be a way more simpler version. I can't see it staying the way it is. Well, that's his meter system out of the way. I feel like majority of it will stay. I don't think the heat system will stay, and if it does stay, it'll be very, 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 very simple compared to how it was. Let's talk about some of the special moves. His running special moves were basically when he runs and presses a button. I don't think that'll be staying. A lot of characters lost their running moves going into Strive, so I don't see running moves staying in general. Robo Ky will not have this on launch. His other specials though, I do think will stay and maybe get reworked to a degree. I think his DP will stay, but I don't think he'll have the super that he can do afterwards. I don't think that will stay. Because he's supposed to be show-like, he needs a DP. This is not a special move that you can skip out on. And having a super after a DP is kind of against Strive's philosophy right now. They want DPs and super moves to be super punishable. Being able to hit confirm a DP into a super doesn't sound like something that would stay in Strive. It doesn't make sense. I don't see it happening, so I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he gets the super move after DP anymore. Would have been cool to see, but with the current philosophy, I just don't see it happening. Now his missiles, I wonder how they're going to be reworked. The missiles are very strong. They're kind of like a tracking projectile, like you do in the air, do grounded. Making it work in a version of Strive, where the game is a lot more grounded, a lot less movement based, you can't have the tracking to the same degree that it does in Accent Core. So designing it, I think they'll do this. Level 1 missiles won't track and will cover a good portion of the screen, and level 2 missiles will track. They won't have an abundance or a ton of them, but they'll start to track when the meter gets higher. So the missiles are very interesting. They need to be a core part of his game plan because a lot of people recognize Robo Ky for his missile shenanigans. I think he might keep this horse riding move but replace it with the bike animation he does. It's supposed to be like a plus on block like charge tool, where the more levels you have, the faster it is, the more plus it is. So I can imagine that staying. I think it'll be a core part of his game plan so he can threaten the next part I'm going to mention. And it lets him get in and start his dominance. So having an approach tool is definitely necessary, and Strive, right? The whole game is based on approach tools right now. Will they keep his 6p like the shotgun blast that he does? Maybe not. I don't see that happening. The shotgun blast is such a cool animation. I do think they'll rework it into his toolkit. I don't see it being the 6p. I, however, do see it being a 6H. I feel like the shotgun blasts are a big part of the character. Very well known that he does this attack. So it makes sense to put in his toolkit somewhere. Making it a 6H, maybe a long range disc joint with a turn recovery, might be the way to go. Command grab is the thing that needs to stay. Why is this? Robo Ky, as a character, is known for doing strike throw offense. When reading up on the wiki and watching a lot of his game plan, he needs to do strike throw. His command grab has a very unique property. It can steal tension and give it to himself. When he does this, he should still do the same thing. He should still steal your meter and build up for himself, because again, he doesn't build meter conventionally. He's very weird. So having a command grab that'll give him meter will certainly come into play. I'm kind of curious about how roaming cancels are going to work with this guy, because, you know, he can't really just go like, oh, I'm going to build meter normally. Can't do that, right? Tension's different. Command grab needs to stay, so he has another way to get meter besides a charge special move. He needs something else. That's about all the core things I think should stay in his move list. His normals might completely change to suit his new look, because I can't see them staying the same. Guilty Gear Strive has been known to revamp a lot of the characters' normals so they aren't really the same as the previous game. So with supers, this is the last part that we'll talk on, and I think two supers will stay. The one where he does the Ora Ora, as it's very iconic, very recognizable. So much so when Venom does the throw, it's the thing that they kept for Robo Ky. They could have made him do anything else as a head, but they kept this. This is iconic to Robo Ky. And for his other super move, we'll have an install super. And I think what you should do, it's his overclock install, where after a set period of time, you'll explode, do an unblockable, all that stuff. I think what you should do for the starp animation is completely change it so it's a parody of Dragon Install Ky. I think that'd be really funny. I think that'd be peak, and you get a lot of people talking about it for sure. But how will it function? I think it'll still have the same countdown system, but instead of really hurting the opponent, and maybe you'll change it so if you don't get a wall break or a certain attacking time, you'll just hurt yourself. That could be a bit brutal, but again, it's essentially giving you free tension as this install's going off. Maybe they'll get rid of the downside. I'm not too sure, but it has to stay. It's very iconic. This is a very short video. I just wanted to talk about Robo Ky and his vision and how he'll actually play in Strive, because Strive is very different to previous Guilty Gear. That'll be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like, hype, sub, and tell me what you think they'll do with Robo Ky. I'm curious. I really want to know, because it feels like an open slate where anything can stay and a ton of things could get changed. So I'm so curious how they're going to do them in Strive. Again, simpler game, so you got to approach it with that mindset. The realistic viewpoint of this is way simpler. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.